Hello friends, and welcome to a new Rimworld playthrough. I'm Rizorty, and I'm primarily a Twitch streamer. Most of my Rimworld content is live commented, replete with long pauses, hesitation noises, ums and ers, and digressions into whatever other topics come up in chat. Yo yo yo, thanks random viewer for the subscription! In this YouTube exclusive series, I want to try something a little bit different. For a long while now, I've wanted to make an edited Rimworld playthrough, one where I show only the highlights of what's happening in the colony rather than every single moment of gameplay. I'm hoping to present polished, thoughtful storytelling, unlike the extemporaneous noises I make while normally streaming on Twitch. The Let's Play I'm starting today has clear antecedents, most notably YouTuber Pete Completes 3 playthroughs. From the first time I saw one of his videos, I thought, oh, I want to try making something just like that. I want to learn the recording and editing skills necessary to put together compelling stories and videos. Up front, I want to be clear, if it seems like I'm copying other YouTubers, guilty. But then, as Picasso put it, good artists borrow, great artists steal. Besides, if you like Pete's videos, maybe this means you'll like mine too. This playthrough is my third since the Biotech DLC was released. That expansion added player-controlled mechanoids, children, and genetic modification mechanics to the game's possibilities. I have some ideas for where I'd like this playthrough's storyline to go, and I hope it will include engagement with all the new features, but we'll see where the storyteller takes us. For this series, I've activated all of the game's official expansions: Royalty, Ideology, and Biotech. I'm not sure whether we'll go deep into the first 2 expansions' content, but I'd like to have it available in case we decide to do so. Though I normally play Rimworld without any mods, I've turned on just a few for these videos. They're all listed in the description below, and to my mind, none of them change gameplay in anything but a cosmetic way. Now, on to this playthrough's setup. I've put together a custom scenario which is nearly identical to Naked Brutality. Our tribal character begins with absolutely nothing, including no research. Before making beds, or even pemmican, we'll need to learn how to do so first. Following Pete's example, I've also turned off the random Wanderer Joins event, just so we can make our own decisions about who we admit to the colony's Cool Kid Club. To maximize the Rimworldiness of this playthrough, I've decided we're going to play it on Randy Random. There are no guarantees of a smooth difficulty progression. Rather, we may find ourselves totally outmatched in the game's first moments. What's guaranteed on our Randy playthrough is only a wild story. Since we're on YouTube, I'll be playing on Reload Anytime just to avoid recording issues, but I won't save scum. Scout's honor. If our story is to end in ashes and tears, so be it. I am making 2 slight changes to the game's settings, but I'll be using Blood and Dust as the playthrough's basic difficulty. It's the level at which I feel most comfortable, so I'll be playing at that for this series. In the future, I likely will increase the challenge, but I prefer that my first edited playthrough doesn't collapse too fast. Now, the modifications, both related to biotech. First, I'm slowing children's aging. In default settings, kids age 4 times as fast as adults. I'm hoping this will be a pretty long playthrough, so I'd prefer to experience the extended duration of children's dependent immaturity. I'm hoping with slower aging, we'll be fully invested in any youngster we manage to bring to adulthood. I'm also making a modification I'm actually not sure I like, but which I think should add to the series' storyline. Insofar as there are children in our Rimworld world, I'm going to allow them to appear as hostile characters. We'll see whether I regret this decision down the road. Next up, we create our game world. We're making the entire global map 100%, and we'll use the seed Jump Pack for reasons that will become evident after only a few episodes. I'm leaving all the other map settings at their defaults, though I've decided to also add a faction of cannibal pirates and one of nudists too, just to keep things interesting. The biome I've chosen for this playthrough is a tropical rainforest. Though this isn't the most difficult of all locales, it has plenty of challenges that should keep us on our toes. With diseases, marshy land, heat, and a host of predators, I'm looking forward to a fun base and a challengingly good story. What I like about the tile I've chosen is that it has both a river and a road, and it isn't too far away from a friendly colony. I'm hoping we'll be able to do some trading, and the tile's unusual features should make for some interesting base building. Next up, Ideologion. I've put together this one called Kelmar's Consequences. It's a fluid ideologion, which means we'll figure it out as we go along, developing it in response to our playthrough's storyline. It does have a backstory, which you're welcome to pause and read for yourself. Welcome back. Its basic outlook is materialist individualistic. No gods or masters for our incipient base. There are rituals and relics, and we'll see what we learn about those as the playthrough develops. Now we come to the colonist. This is Chip, a character created in consultation with one of my longtime Twitch viewers. For this playthrough, other than with Chip, I'm going to be democratic about name inclusion. If you're interested in having your name added to this game, please leave a comment on this video. Anytime there's an opening for something to be named, animals and colonists mostly, I'll randomly draw a username from the comments on the prior video. I'll do my best to keep your named characters alive, but of course there are no guarantees. I've used the mod Prepare Carefully to put Chip together, and you'll notice some unusual features right away. For one, he's only 17 years old, and thus has only a childhood backstory. As an abandoned orphan, he receives bonuses to shooting, melee, and social. These are his only starting skill levels because I've zeroed out all of the rest. I've given him 1 tick of passion in both crafting and social. These, along with his soul trait and arm injury, are remnants of a deeper backstory we'll discover together as the series progresses. I'll say up front that Chip's story is a spin-off of a playthrough I streamed on Twitch, but you don't have to know anything about that one to understand and enjoy this one. I'll also mention that Chip's trait, Body Modder, is completely incongruent with our no technology tribal starting conditions. Chip will be unhappy until we find him a non-organic body part, and I have absolutely no intentions of hacking off one of his legs just to install a peg leg. That's all we need to say by way of playthrough preparation, so let's push the start key and see how Chip's story begins. I can't wait to find out. Chip had been running for days. All that came before was a blur. Slavery, robots, an antisocial old man, hours hammering at stone blocks, and now freedom. And terror. Alone in the swamp, his clothes rent to the point of uselessness, Chip hoped he could make a life for himself here. He wanted to understand his past and build a future. First, though, he'd have to survive. As Chip begins to wander nakedly around the map, let's take a quick moment to investigate the place we'll be calling home for the foreseeable future. The feature that most obviously jumps out is the giant river bisecting the map from west to east. Though identifying his territory as the farthest thing from Chip's mind right now, perhaps he'll pick a name for the river eventually. Do you have a suggestion for the river's name? If so, let me know in the comments. Panning across the map's bottom, we notice some mountains, and then, oh, quite obviously, it's the ancient danger. There are no questions about that. And then, right next door, a deposit of uranium. Continuing up, we see some more hills, some ruins, bits of detritus, and a weirdly rectangular spot of metal flooring next to a geothermal vent. Is this perhaps the site of an ancient generator or laboratory? Other than our central road, the rest of the map seems relatively innocuous, but I want to talk about this ruin right here. It's small, centrally located, and has berry bushes, steel, and even components nearby. This should be a good spot for Chip to begin setting up shop. We can think of it as his initial home in this verdant hell. We'll send Chip there soon enough. First though, let's invite him to fetch some breakfast. Those berries are looking inviting. Unfortunately, his plant skill is low enough, 0, that harvesting is going to take some time. So let's move back to the base and make our first mark, a stockpile zone in which Chip can keep all of his many treasures. With that done, we'll mark an item for him to deconstruct. The steel resources he finds will be the very first building blocks to enclose his new home. We return to Chip just in time to see that he's somehow ruined his harvest. Perhaps his unskilled hands knocked all the berries to the ground, where they were quickly snagged by passing critters. In time, he'll surely improve. For now, though, he turns his attention to dismantling the sarcophagus, and as he's working, we'll do the same, placing a zone to hold the base's refuse, notably those 3 rocks in the middle of Chip's meager abode. After just a moment of working, Chip finishes ripping apart the metal box and is rewarded with a small pile of steel. He still needs food though, so he takes another shot at the second berry bush. Before long, he's succeeded, finally gaining a tasty snack to keep his energy up. While he heads to take apart one wall, I give him instructions for how to seal his home, and he gets right to it. After another moment's of work, despite some construction troubles, he's gotten the walls up and achieves his very first skill level up. This one in construction. Surely it's the first of many improvements for Chip. Then, with his newfound aptitude for building, he returns to making a second door and botches the job. A few more construction XP are that task's only benefit. Chip heads off to the northern bushes, and while we modify his work priorities, he again succeeds at harvesting. Looks like his larder is filling up nicely. We then modify his schedule. To ensure he's always available for work, we clear it entirely. Once there's less pressure on Chip as the base's sole breadwinner and worker, he'll soon be able to have a more consistent daily routine. As he sets to tidying, I decide he is not to be trusted in making a door, so it's only further walls for Chip's starting room, and then success. We have a fully enclosed room, and so the roofing begins, along with hauling all those nasty looking hunks of stone. With that done, it's time for Chip's first indoor meal. He scarfs down the berries, surely enjoying the cover from rain, but also despising his lack of a table. We'll have to address that soon. As he's again without food, Chip returns to the bushes, and I begin thinking about other concerns. Assuming those berries will keep him going for a little while longer, it's time to consider defense, or maybe offense first. So I place Chip's first crafting spot and tell him that he'll be getting a club. That takes 40 raw materials, which we definitely do not have. Some further berries collected, Chip decides that's enough work for the day and heads outside to meditate. Having spent so much of today staring at bushes, he considers what it is to be a berry, a picker, to sustain and to be sustained. He doesn't make much progress at all in understanding these mysteries of the universe, but he feels a little better for giving it that effort. Staring at shrubbery all day is no way to live a life though, so it's time to give Chip something else to do for relaxation. As a tribal character, his options are quite limited, so we place a blueprint for him to construct a wooden hoopstone. Now we need 40 wood for the club and 20 for the recreation activity construction too. Chip decides it's time for bed though, and as it's nearly midnight, I see no reason to keep him working. He's earned the privilege of collapsing into a heap on the stone floor. He is home. Before long though, the sun is up again. It's time to get out of bed and get back to it. Another day of tasks beckons. Thus, out into the rain he goes, surely annoyed to be soaking wet. Once he's finished collecting berries again, and then wasting even more, Chip heads back home. Luckily, there are still plenty of bushes to sustain him. Now though, the task must be wood, so Chip trains his worthless plant skill by punching a tree. More than 4 hours later, his stomach screaming in hunger, the tree finally falls. Our base has its first wood, and Chip can sate himself once more. Still no table, but perhaps soon? After a quick tidy of his eating area, it's back to chopping down trees, and then to building that hoopstone. With no construction troubles at all, Chip's colony has become a little bit more fun. Next up though, the club. Because of his passion for this task, crafting, the experience comes a little bit faster, and the happiness does too. So long as he's crafting, Chip will consistently have a slight mood bonus. The club now completed and hefted, Chip feels a little readier to face the rainforest dangers. With that weapon sorted, next up is some clothing. For this, we're going to need to take on some of the biome's denizens. Wildlife here is varied, and though many of them are guaranteed not to revenge at range, we're going to be fighting our target in melee. Of all the animals here, the adorable chinchilla seems like an obvious target. As it's tiny, Chip should be able to kill one without too much trouble. I'll note here though that the chinchilla fur is terrible at protection and not much use at all in hot temperatures, but it's still better than being naked. Unfortunately, all the chinchillas are quite far away, so we'll set aside that task for right now, though we'll take a quick look. Our tribal wear will take 60 fabric, far more than any chinchilla's fur will provide us. As there are a few adorable beasties available though, We should be able to work something out. It's back to the deforestation for Chip though, because after long hours, it's time to take care of one of his greatest frustrations. For far too long, he's been squatting to eat. Welcome, Chip, to the world of tables. Or at least that's the hope. His wooden feasting station will require even more wood for construction. Tomorrow, another day of chopping. Tonight, maybe he'll pick the splinters from his increasingly calloused palms. As Chip blissfully slumbers, sawing only metaphorical logs now, I realize there's a need I've been ignoring. Body temperature. Daily temperatures in this biome have been exceeding 40 degrees Celsius, which is about 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Chip has had the heat stroke warning basically since he spawned into the world. Now I wonder, how bad could it be? Ugh, it's 26%, higher than I'd like. This is slowing Chip's movement and blunting his mental acuity. In an ordinary playthrough start, I'd throw down some passive coolers or dig into the cool safety of a nearby mountain. As Chip has no research and only negligible mining talent, there's really not much else to do but frown and hope he recovers overnight, though it's still blazing hot and Chip sleeping in a growing pool of sweat. But oh, it's a fair bit cooler outside than in. We should take advantage of that. Permanently holding open the front door will ensure a fresh breeze comes in, and it guarantees Chip's entrances and exits move faster too, saving valuable time. With the morning's first light, Chip gets breakfast again, passively aggressively standing where his promised eating area should be. As he gets to work on building his stool, we check his heat stroke. Oh, it's dropped to 12% overnight. While he's still not feeling the very best, it's not as bad as yesterday. The morning's cool air should continue improving Chip's body temperature. Chip then uses his renewed energy to harvest once more, berries and wood both. Hours go by as Chip shows the bushes and trees who's boss, and before long he's ready to build his table. Success! Kind of. The table's a truly awful sight, but Chip must feel a little more comfortable. Finally, he'll be able to sit on his poor quality stool, a moment of dignity in an otherwise undignified existence. It's then off to spend the rest of the day picking berries along the river's edge, its soft sounds a friendly companion as he mostly fails to get any food at all. Someday he'll deftly pluck fruit, but today is not that day. Keep at it, Chip. But doubt begins to set in. If he's producing only barely what he needs to stay alive, is there any hope of long-term survival? Another growl from his angry stomach alerts him that these mental meanderings waste energy, so leaving those questions to the philosophers, he continues to pick. Returning home, his arms laden with enough berries for tomorrow, Chip falls to fitful sleep. The rumble of a nearby rhinoceros's snores enter his dreams as an unspecified danger. Footsteps? Falling rocks? Each new thought returns him to worried wakefulness. All he can do to calm himself is look around and think, mine. I made this and it's mine. I've got to be safe here. But what a depressing little box it is, especially that dirty patch over by the door. With a plan to fix that tomorrow, Chip returns to slumber. The rhino awakens first though, stomping around, returning Chip to wakefulness once more. Oh, wild beasts, he mutters, eating a leisurely breakfast as he wonders whether there's a way to craft earplugs. With animals on the mind though, Chip suddenly remembers an earlier plan. Ah, the chinchilla. Its fur will make a fine outfit to cover his naked form, and maybe the excess can be jammed into his ear holes too. With a short hike north, Chip faces his prey. Its cute face would soon be mashed by his club's blows. Closing his eyes, Chip swings again and again, feeling the creature's nails ripping at his exposed flesh. But then, with a final squeak, the animal falls silent, and Chip knows he's succeeded. Bloody and sore, he massages his wounds. Today there would be no new scars to accompany the one on his left forearm. What did he know of medicine? Nothing, except that care mattered. For now, without medicine, he cares for himself, his heart still racing at this first victory. He hopes it won't be his last. 2 hours later, barely anything more understood of the ways of the human body, Chip decides he's done all he could. It's time to carry the prize home. Next, he's going to need a butcher's table, which means he needs even more wood. The trees again beckon to him. His hands ache. As he continues to chop, what's that Chip sees off in the distance? Oh, it's a table amongst the ruins, and this one is of normal quality and made of marble too. Surely that's a fine upgrade from the one that he tried to craft yesterday. We claim it, set a delivery point, and order Chip to haul it to place among his treasures. Just then, we're notified of the map's first visitors, a group from the local nudist tribe. They're here to trade. A middle-aged man and 2 children wander into his base, and Chip, equally naked and now finished with his work, sidles over to see their wares. This is the first human conversation he's had in weeks. Oh, how his eyes widen at their offerings. Sure, they're offering only a paltry assortment of goods and one surprisingly nice robe, but to Chip, it's all a wonder. And medicine! How much better off he'd be with specialized items to treat his wounds. But that cost is substantial, as Chip has literally nothing of value to exchange. They, though, have an axe. Weapons. Would they perhaps be interested in some clubs? Running away, Chip grabs the nearby stack of wood, sprinting back to his home. He's tired, he's hungry, but that just doesn't matter. All that's important is getting the medicine. One club is finished and back to the trader. Oh, they'll give him 5 more silver for it. That's 1/3 of the medicine's value. Just 2 more clubs needed, more wood needed. First a nearby tree, then the awful table. Ripping, tearing, he gets the wood he needs. Oh, how he wishes for sleep, for food, but the clubs must get done. He chops and chops and feels himself wasting away. Okay, a quick snack, back to work, and no, the trader leaves. Chip, dejected, knows he won't be able to heal himself with a pile of wooden clubs. But the trader has left behind a present, some shiny gold meant to welcome Chip to the neighborhood. Surely the visitor wouldn't mind receiving the gold back in trade. Is that an insult in nudist culture? Chip chases him down, ready to strike a deal. And yes, 2 clubs and 3 gold is enough to receive some medicine and a small pile of silver and change. Sticking the medicine in his pocket, don't ask, and picking up the silver, Chip returns home and falls asleep, a smile on his face. Today he'd won, because he was clever and hard-working, and somehow still alive. I hope you enjoyed this first episode of our new Rimworld adventure. I can't wait to see what happens next, and I hope you're along for the ride too. If you have any questions or thoughts, I'd love to see you comment below. Likewise, if you want your username in the pool for naming characters in future episodes. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.